Bodrum is a district and a port city in Mughla province, in the southwestern Aegean region of Turkey. It is located on the southern coast of Bodrum Peninsula, at a point that checks the entry into the Gulf of Gokova, and is also the center of the eponymous district. The city was called Halicarnassus of Caria in ancient times and was famous for housing the Mausoleum of Mausolus, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Built by the Knights Hospitaller in the 15th century, Bodrum Castle overlooks the harbour and the marina. The castle includes a museum of underwater archaeology and hosts several cultural festivals. Throughout the year, the city had a population of 35,795 in 2012. It takes 50 minutes via boat to reach Kos from Bodrum, with services running multiple times a day by at least 3 operators. In classical antiquity, Bodrum was known as Halicarnassus, a major city in ancient Caria. The suffix assos of Greek Halikarnassos is indicative of a substrate toponym, meaning that an original non-Greek name influenced or established the place's name. It has been proposed that Karnassos part is cognate with Luwian word, ha plus ra, I nasa, which means fortress. If so, the city's ancient name was probably borrowed from Carian, a Luwic language spoken alongside Greek in western Anatolia. The Carian name for Halicarnassus has been tentatively identified within inscriptions. The modern name Bodrum derives from the town's medieval name Petronium, which has its roots in the Hospitaller Castle of St. Peter. Halicarnassus was an ancient Greek city at the site of modern Bodrum in Turkey. Halicarnassus was founded by Dorian Greeks, and the figures on its coins, such as the head of Medusa, Athena or Poseidon, or the trident, support the statement that the mother cities were Troezen and Argos. The inhabitants appear to have accepted Anthus, a son of Poseidon, as their legendary founder, as mentioned by Strabo, and were proud of the title of Anthede. The Carian name for Halicarnassus has been tentatively identified with Alos Delta Karnos Delta in inscriptions. At an early period, Halicarnassus was a member of the Doric hexapolis, which included Kos, Cyanidus, Lindos, Camiros and Ialissus, but it was expelled from the league when one of its citizens, Agasicles, took home the prize tripod which he had won in the Triopian Games, instead of dedicating it according to custom to the Triopian Apollo. In the early 5th century, Halicarnassus was under the sway of Artemisia I of Caria, who made herself famous as a naval commander at the Battle of Salamis. Of Pisandalis, her son and successor, little is known, but Ligdamis, the tyrant of Halicarnassus, who next attained power, is notorious for having put to death the poet Parnassus and causing Herodotus, possibly the best-known Halicarnassian, to leave his native city. The city later fell under Persian rule. Under the Persians, it was the capital city of the satrapy of Caria, the region that had since long constituted its hinterland and of which it was the principal port. Its strategic location ensured that the city enjoyed considerable autonomy. Archaeological evidence from the period, such as the recently discovered Salmaki's inscription, now in Bodrum Museum of Underwater Archaeology, attest to the particular pride its inhabitants had developed. Alexander the Great laid siege to the city after his arrival in Carian lands and, together with his ally, the Queen Adar of Caria, captured it after fighting in 334 BCE. Mausolus ruled Caria from here, nominally on behalf of the Persians and independently in practical terms, for much of his reign from 377 to 353 BC. When he died in 353 BC, Artemisia II of Caria, who was both his sister and his widow, employed the ancient Greek architects Satyros and Pythes, and the 4 sculptors Bryaxis, Scopas, Leochares and Timotheus to build a monument, as well as a tomb, for him. The word, mausoleum, derives from the structure of this tomb. It was a temple-like structure decorated with reliefs and statuary on a massive base. Today only the foundations and a few pieces of sculpture remain. Later, after Alexander's death, however, rule of the city passed to Antigonus I and was briefly an independent kingdom until 129 BCE when it came under Roman rule. A series of earthquakes destroyed much of the city as well as the Great Mausoleum, while repeated pirate attacks from the Mediterranean wreaked further havoc on the area. By the time of the early Christian Byzantine era, when Halicarnassus was an important bishopric, there was little left of the shining city of Marseilles. In 1404 AD, the Christian Knights of St. John used the ruins of the mausoleum to build their castle. In Bodrum, Crusader knights arrived in 1402 and used the remains of the mausoleum as a quarry to build the still impressively standing Bodrum Castle, which is a well-preserved example of the late Crusader architecture in the East Mediterranean. The Knights Hospitaller were given permission